You know, in the NBA, any team can win on any given night. We say it all the time. But every once in a while, a result comes along that just makes you stop and go, wait, what just happened? Well, let's break down one of those games, a truly stunning upset that almost nobody saw coming.
So, January 15th, the Charlotte Hornets roll into Los Angeles, and they don't just beat the Lakers, they completely dismantle them. The final score was 135 to 117. I mean, that is an 18-point beatdown on the road against the team everyone thinks is a contender.
And that really is the million-dollar question we're tackling here. How does a struggling team, a team way below .500, not just hang with, but absolutely dominate a top 5 team in the West in their own house? To really get this shock, you first have to understand just how big of a mismatch this was supposed to be.
I mean, just look at this on paper. It's totally lopsided, right? The Hornets were the 12th seed in the East, not exactly lighting it up on the road, and the Lakers, a solid 5th in the tough Western Conference and usually pretty good at home. Everything, and I mean everything, pointed to a routine win for LA.
And for the first 12 minutes, hey, the game went exactly how everyone thought it would. It felt like all the predictions were spot on. The Lakers came out absolutely on fire, looking every bit the dominant home team they were supposed to be.
And leading that charge was the Lakers' superstar, Anthony Davis. He was just unconscious. He dropped an incredible 19 points in the first quarter alone. The Lakers looked completely unstoppable. And honestly, it felt like this thing was on its way to being a serious blowout.
But then somebody ripped the script to shreds. After that massive 39-point first quarter, just look at what happened next. The Lakers' offense just vanished. Poof, gone. They scraped together a measly 16 points in the second. And meanwhile, the Hornets, they found a whole other gear. And, well, they never looked back.
And this right here, this visualizes that momentum shift perfectly. Going from 39 points all the way down to 16. It's a complete 180. So the question is, what on earth happened? Well, the answer really comes in two parts. First, let's talk about what the Hornets did.
Because the Hornets didn't just get a little warm, they absolutely caught fire. After weathering that first punch from the Lakers, their offense just exploded in a way that the LA defense had absolutely no answer for.
The guy who lit the fuse? LaMelo Ball. Playing in his native LA area, he put on an absolute clinic, scoring 30 points. And get this, 27 of those points came after that rough first quarter. He just flipped a switch.
And his favorite weapon that night was definitely the three-pointer. Ball tied his career high with 9 threes, hitting 8 of them in the second half alone. With every single one, you could see him celebrating, just totally quieting that LA crowd.
But this was no solo mission. No way. Brandon Miller was a huge problem for the Lakers, dropping 26. Miles Bridges was right there with him, adding another 25. And how about the rookie, Con Knuppel? He had a massive night, chipping in 19 points on some crazy efficient shooting. It was a full-on team assault.
And what's really insane is just how efficient they were as a team. Look at these numbers. They shot over 54% from the field, a blistering 46.5% from three-point range on 20 made threes, and they were almost perfect from the free throw line. I mean, you just can't defend that. That's a team in the zone.
Okay, but an offensive explosion is only one half of the story. For an upset this big to actually happen, the favorite has to fall apart. So let's look at the systemic failures that really doomed the Lakers all night long.
And boom, right here might be the single biggest factor in the whole game. The Hornets bench came in and gave them a solid 27 points. The Lakers bench, a measly 9. That's an 18-point gap in bench scoring, which is, not so coincidentally, the exact final margin of the game.
And it wasn't just that they weren't scoring, they were incredibly inefficient. The Lakers' reserves just couldn't buy a bucket, shooting a combined 21%. That meant the starters got zero help, and they couldn't get a minute of rest without watching the game slip away.
On top of all that, the Hornets just bullied them. They completely dominated the physical battle, out-rebounding the Lakers by a staggering margin of 50 to 35. And those 14 offensive rebounds for Charlotte, those are just backbreaking. They give you extra possessions and totally demoralize the defense.
So the big takeaway here is that even with your two superstars combining for 68 points, a huge night for both AD and LeBron, it just wasn't enough. The lack of depth, the poor rebounding, the shaky defensive effort, it created a hole that even two of the best players in the world couldn't dig them out of.
So we've deconstructed the how, but what does it all mean? What's the fallout for these two teams moving forward? What are the big takeaways from this pretty shocking result?
Well, from the Hornets side of things, this was a story of pure grit and resilience. The recap from At the Hive really nails it. They took the Lakers' best shot early, they clamped down on defense, and they completely snatched control of the game. It's a real sign of what this team can be when it's all clicking.
But from the Lakers side, it's a story of pure frustration. And you can hear it in LeBron James's post-game comments right here. He's saying, look, our offense can be great, but our defense has to show up every single night, not just when we feel like it. He knows they can't afford these kinds of mental lapses if they're serious about winning a title.
So if you really boil it all down, this is the 4-step recipe for how this upset happened. 1, the Hornets shot the lights out. 2, their bench absolutely demolished the Lakers' reserves. 3, they owned the glass. And 4, they made Los Angeles pay for every single defensive mistake. It's a perfect storm.
And what makes this loss really concerning if you're a Lakers fan is that it's not just a one-off. This was actually their 4th loss in just 5 games, which starts to signal a really troubling trend and exposes some pretty serious cracks in the foundation.
Which leaves all of us with the final and most critical question. For a team that has championship dreams, was getting blown out at home by a 12 seed just a fluke? A bad night where the other guys just couldn't miss? Or was it a flashing red warning sign that star power alone isn't going to be enough to fix their deeper systemic problems? I guess only time will tell.